Hi, welcome to all of you. We are so glad you're here this afternoon because we heard you singing from backstage, and we know that you want to hear a story. And we have a story planned that is over 2 millenniums long. Does anybody know what a millennium is? 1,000 years, that's right. So this story is over 2,000 years long. Now, we decided that would be a little long to keep you here this evening. So we thought that what we would do is just tell you all the things that we think are really important from those 2,000 plus years. Okay? Are you ready? Okay, so we're waiting. Once upon a time, many, many years ago, this world didn't look like it does today. There were no blue skies, no white fluffy clouds, no sunshine, only darkness. And in the darkness, no one was there to hear what God might have been saying. But if we had been, we might have heard something like this.
I don't like the way things are. It's dark, and I'm very lonely. I think I'll make a world, and I'll fill it with sunshine and all kinds of wonderful things. To begin with, let there be light.
Hey, look me over, lend me an ear. Fresh out of Clover, mortgage up to here. But don't have to play, folks, don't have to come. I figure whenever you're down and out, the only way is up, and I'll be up like a rosebud high on the vine. Don't thumb your nose, but take a tip from mine. I'm a little bit short of the elbow room, but let me get me some. And look out, world, here I come, here I come. Hey, look me over, lend me an ear. I'm fresh out of Clover, mortgage up to here. But don't pass the plate, folks, don't pass the cup. I figure whenever you're down and out, the only way is up. I'm up like a rosebud high on the vine. Don't thumb your nose, but take a tip from mine. I'm a little bit short of the elbow room, but let me get me some. And look out, world, hear me shout, world. And look out, world, here I come, here I come.
So, there was a brand new world, but we weren't actually in it yet. God had created the heavens and the earth, the seas, the skies, the plants, and the animals. But there was something missing. So then, he created Adam. Adam was sort of an overseer, a manager of sorts. But God soon discovered that Adam didn't know how to manage things very well. So he decided to create somebody who would and could and did manage and organize everything. He created Eve. Oh, Adam, where are you? Oh, there you are.
There is nothing like a day, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a day. They got sunlight on the sand, they got moonlight on the sea, they got mangoes and bananas you can pick right off the tree. They got volleyball and ping pong and a lot of fancy games. What ain't they got? They ain't got things. They get packages from home, they get movies, they get shows, they get pictures from their skipper
stoop for. We got nothing to look handsome and cute for.
There is nothing like a day, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a day. They get lonely and they long for the fair and gentle sex. They would like to feel the feeling of some arms around their neck. They feel hungry as the wolf felt when he met Red Riding Hood. What don't they feel? They don't feel good.
Lots of things in life are beautiful, but brother, there is nothing whatsoever in any way, shape, or form like any other.
There is nothing like a day, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a day, anything like a day. There are no books like a day, and nothing looks like a day, and nothing drinks like a day, and nothing thinks like a day, and nothing acts like a day, or attracts like a day. There ain't a thing that's wrong with any man here that can't be cured by putting him near a girly, womanly, female, feminine day. There ain't a thing that's wrong with any man here that can't be cured by putting him near a girly, womanly, female, feminine day.
Well, things went along pretty smoothly for a while. The people of everything that was created multiplied and divided and multiplied again. And as the population grew, the people were pretty happy. They learned how to grow things and how to fish and how to make furs from animals and how to make fire. And they were actually pretty comfortable, at least comfortable in a prehistoric sense.
Yeah, you know how people get. They get mean and jealous. Pretty soon, God got rather aggravated with him. So he called his friend Noah, and he said, Noah, my friend, I want you to build me a great big boat because there's going to be a really big flood. And Noah built this boat, and he and his wife took with them 2 animals of everything they could find. And as God had said, it rained, and it rained, and it rained. The big book says it rained 40 days and 40 nights. And guess who was up that 40 days and 40 nights of cleaning up cleaning the deck, scrubbing everything, feeding the animals? Right, Mrs. Noah. Well, pretty soon she had it. And so she went to look for Noah, and she found him up there in that crow's nest. Now, that crow's nest is a place where he spent all his time, so he didn't have to do any work. So she called up to him. She said, Noah, are you listening? He just ignored her. So she stomped her feet and she shouted at him, Noah, you miserable old tooth. I'm tired of cleaning up after these animals, feeding them, and listening to all the moos and the neighs and the clucks and the beeps and the growls and the roars. I'm tired. You come down here and do this for a while. After all, this was your idea. I need some rest. Let me go up there. kept trying to get his attention. Noah just looked at her and he calmly said, "Woman, sit down. You're rocking the boat."
about 3,500 BC, the wheel was invented. And about 1050 BC, by the way, kids, do you know what BC stands for? Before Christ, that's correct. About 1050 BC, the Greek alphabet was evolving from Phoenician symbols. And the letters we know as A and B in the Greek alphabet meant alpha and beta. And that's how we got the word alphabet. But you know, I bet those Greeks got really tired of reading and writing. So by 776, they held the first Olympic Games. They had foot racing and horse racing and boxing. They had long jump and javelin throw and wrestling. I wonder what those Greeks would think of the WWF of today.
toward the end of the year 1 BC, everyone had to go and register because Caesar, the emperor of Rome, wanted a census taken. And he couldn't do it by telephone because that hadn't been invented. And he couldn't do it at the post office because that didn't exist. So everyone had to go to a particular destination. Well, during the time of this census taking, there was a baby born, a baby named Jesus Christ, a baby whose life would literally change the world. Before his birth, the years would be known as BC. But after his birth, the years would be known as AD, for the Latin word Anno Domini, which means in the year of our Lord.
Civilizations continued to grow and spread. There were too many to mention here, but a few of them were the Greeks and the Romans and the Mayans. In the year 1000 AD, historians believe that Leif Erikson was one of the first Europeans to set foot in North America. Other explorers and adventurers soon followed. They all wanted to see what this new land was like. One explorer became famous in our history books because he's given the credit for discovering America. Does anyone know his name? Christopher Columbus, that's right. And you remember the year. 1492, very good. But you know, Columbus, it wasn't all easy going. He had a hard time getting started. He started out with 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Yes, but they didn't all make it. And some of the men were extremely unhappy with Columbus and wanted to turn back. They were scared, seasick, and hungry. But Columbus refused to give up. Here's Eliana Sound to tell us a little bit more about Columbus' adventures.
In 1492, 3 ships set out to sea, the Nina and the Pinta and the Santa Maria. And they sailed the stormy sea on that historic day. From way up in the crow's nest, you could hear the Luigi say, "Please, Mr. Columbus, turn the ship around. Make me back, I want to feel my 2 feet on the ground. Why did you tell Isabella that the world is round? Please, Mr. Columbus, turn the ship around." Then Greece took out his mandolin and he began to play. They sang and danced the carousel until the break of day. They ate up all the provolone and drank up all the wine. But still up in the crow's nest you could hear Luigi cry. Columbus, turn the ship around. Take me back, I want to feel my 2 feet on the ground. Why you tell Isabella that the world is round? Please, Mr. Columbus, turn the ship around. Isabella? Is that you? Okay, I'm Devin. Isabella, first from our tiny cop line. When you get there, bring her back a Big Mac and fries. And then one day they sighted land across the starboard bow. Columbus said, "I'm down this hole." The journey's over now. We saw the Indians gathered on the shore, and then he said, "For peace sake, man, I'm gonna ask you just one more. Oh, please, Mr. Columbus, turn the ship around. The Indians look menacing, they mean to hold the ground. And if we land there on the sand, the boil is pound for pound. Please, Mr. Columbus, turn the ship around. All right, I'm sticking. So please turn this ship around.
After Columbus, more and more explorers came to America in search of land and other riches.
Yes, they wanted to see those spacious skies and those amber wastes of grain and all those purple mountain majesties and all that fruited land.
Excuse me? The explorers were looking for treasures. What they were seeking to find was land and wealth for their country's rulers.
And they wanted to see the Chicago skyline, huh? And the Washington Monument and Mount Rushmore. They didn't have any of that stuff in Europe.
Well, hello. None of that stuff was here either when the explorers came.
And they just really wanted to see McDonald's, and they loved Michael Jordan, and they all wanted to go to Disney World.
Oh, for heaven's sakes, don't be ridiculous. What they found was a vast, beautiful wilderness. And the Spanish explorer Cortez, in 1519, during his conquest of Mexico, made one of the world's most important discoveries. Chocolate! Yet other explorers came. In 1541, Hernando de Soto discovered the mouth of the Mississippi. And in 1673, over 100 years ago, Jacques Marquette and Louis Joliet traveled up the Mississippi, a river that we call the Father of Waters, a river that is known as the mighty Mississippi.
Roll on, you my Mississippi, roll along, along. You lazy river, sing your song, and it's somewhere for Dixie, steady as you go, on the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Get on the boat and never keep on calling me. Ain't no place on earth I'd rather be. Well, it's Greenville, Vicksburg, Natchez down the line. It's fairly well, old Memphis, Tennessee. Oh, you line, Mississippi, roll along, along. Lazy river, sing your song, and it's somewhere for Dixie, steady as you go, on the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Well, we used to ride up on that river Queen. Just live your dream of fortune I have seen. Once I lost $1 million, I won it back again, on the way from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. Roll on, you my Mississippi, roll along, along. Lazy river, sing your song, and for Dixie, steady as you go, on the way down to the Gulf, my honey, down to the Gulf, my baby, down to the Gulf of Mexico. 2, 3, 4, one more time. On the way down to the Gulf, my honey, down to the Gulf, my baby, way down to the Gulf of Mexico. Let's go!
More people came and colonies sprung up and flourished all over the coastal areas. Farmland was cultivated, businesses were opened, and in 1765, even before we declared our independence, one of the most important factories of the New World began operating. In Dorchester, Massachusetts, the first chocolate mill opened. See, we Americans, we got our priorities in order.
We sure do. And you know, there are people who think that chocolate is not nutritious. That it's fattening. And it's bad for your teeth. But I've been reading a book by Sandra Boynton, highly researched. And I've made a chart to show you just exactly how good chocolate is. May I have my chart, please? You see here, here's our nutrition comparison. If we look at chocolate compared with peanut butter and apples and carrots, you'll notice chocolate's numbers are much bigger. The only time that any of those things compare is when it comes to vitamin A, and that's probably added to it. I think my my point.
I agree. I think that is one great chart. And now, for our chocolate professional, Middle Fork Harmony will give you further insight about the well-balanced meaning of chocolate.
I used to think that blue was an animal. Rocky Road was just a rough place to ride. Black Forest was somewhere very far away, and Chip was a good friend of mine. Now I develop by raving, and you'll always hear me raving about a certain food that's high in calories. Don't even try to guess, 'cause it's time that I confess that something's really got a hold on me. It's got a hold on me. Chocolate, give me chocolate. I don't think I can live without it. In a sauce or in a shake, or a German chocolate cake. Chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. All the sheep I used to count on to go to sleep at night don't look the way they used to, floating in the pale moonlight. Each note of Hershey kiss, each hook of Elmore nip, with cream puff coats and M&M's for eyes. They frolic and they play up there in the Milky Way. They think I'm about to lose my mind, lose my mind. Chocolate, give me chocolate. I don't think I can live without it. In a sauce or in a shake, or a German chocolate cake. It's chocolate, chocolate, chocolate. Chocolate, give me chocolate. I don't think I can live without it.
I like your beef in the blender is why your biscuit timber. I fudge with all the fixings has become a cute addiction.
My craving never ceases when I eat it.
I go loco over cocoa.
My bicker over Snickers.
No, I ain't no joker. Give me all your almond roca. In a chip or by the slab, I reach forward and I grab. Chocolate, chocolate.
Please tell me the truth. Who stole my baby Ruth?
Chocolate.
Yes, chocolate was in abundance, but it wasn't enough to keep the colonists happy. They were becoming very frustrated and upset by the laws and the rules that the British had imposed upon them, so they declared their independence. Do any of you kids know the poem, The Midnight Ride of Paul Revere?
Listen, my children, and you shall hear the midnight ride of Paul Revere. On the 18th of April in 75, hardly a man is now alive who remembers that famous day and year. He said to his friend as the British march by land or sea to the town tonight, hang a lantern aloft in the belfry arch of the North Church Tower as a signal light.
What if I land and tears by sea, fly on the opposite shoulder, be ready to ride and spread me along through every Middlesex village and farm for the country folk to be up and to arm.
Then he said good night, and with muffled oars silently rowed to the Charleston shore, just as the moon rose over the bay, where swinging wide at her moorings lay the Somerset British man of war, a phantom ship with each mast and spar, a
across the moon like a prison bar. Meanwhile, his friend through alley and street wanders and watches with eager ears, till in silence around him he hears the muster of men at the barrack door, and the measured tread of grenadiers marching down to their boats on the shore. Then he climbs to the tower of the Old North Church by the wooden stairs with stealthy tread to the belfry chamber overhead. Meanwhile, impatient to mount and ride, booted and spurred with a heavy stride, on the opposite shore walked Paul Revere. And lo, as he looks on the belfry height, a glimmer, and then a gleam of light. He springs to the saddle, the bridle he turns, but lingers and gazes still full on his side, a second light on the belfry burns. You know the rest in books you read, how the British regulars fired and fled, how the farmers gave them ball for ball, behind each fence and farmyard wall, chasing the redcoats down the lane, crossing the fields to emerge again, under each tree at the turn of the road, and only pausing to fry or load. Through all our history to the last, in the hour of darkness, peril, and need, the people will awaken to listen to hear the erring hoofbeats of that steed and the midnight message of Paul Revere.
Wonderful. April 19, 1775, the shot heard round the world was fired, and the start of the war between the Minutemen and the... By the way, does anybody know why they were called Minutemen? Because they could be ready just like that. So the war went on between the colonists and the British regulars, and by 1776, July 4th, the colonists declared their independence. And that day is still known as our birthday, and it's celebrated every year with parades and fireworks.
Laws were written and inventions abounded. This country was well on its way. Did you know in 1784 we had our first balloon ride with Dr. Warren as the pilot, not Dr. Ed, but in Baltimore, Maryland. September 21st, 1782, the first daily newspaper known as the Pennsylvania Packet began in Philadelphia. On May 17, 1784, George Washington had written in his expense ledger that he had purchased a cream machine for ice. Today, we call it an ice cream machine. In 1785, we had our first porcelain teeth. They were said to be so perfect that you couldn't tell them from their real teeth, and they fit so firm that you could even eat with them. And George Washington was one of his patients. Did you know Paul Revere was a dentist too? On September 19, 1787, the Constitution of this United States was first published in a newspaper in Philadelphia.
As the new country completed the 1700s and entered the 1800s, it was growing and changing as rapidly as its economy and ingenuity would allow. This became known as the period of the Industrial Revolution, and it greatly raised the standard of living of all people and changed the Western world from an agricultural society to an industrial society. But an important milestone occurred in 1818. A section of land which lay east of the Mississippi River, except for one island called Kaskaskia, became the 21st state. The state was named after an Indian tribe called the Adelines and became known as the state of... That's correct, Illinois. Does anybody know what the state bird is? Yes. The cardinal, that's right. And what's the state flower? Yes. The violet, that's right. And what about the state tree? Yes. The white oak is correct. Does anybody know what the state capital is? Yes. That's right. Springfield is the state capital. But I bet there's one thing that you didn't know. The average July temperature in the state of Illinois, according to the World Book Encyclopedia that is a comfortable 76 degrees. Next July, when the temperatures are in the 90s, let's try and remember that. Maybe we can stay cool. Illinois is known both as the Prairie State and as the land of Lincoln. Our state song, as sung by Amber Zimmerman and Readiness, describes what we appreciate about Illinois.
Comes an echo
richest and beloved resident of Illinois was? Anybody? Go ahead. Abraham Lincoln, that's correct. He was actually born in Kentucky, but when he was early on in his years, he did move to Illinois. And as one of his first jobs, he was carrying goods to New Orleans on a flatboat. When he was 21, he decided to run for the state legislature, and he was actually defeated. But 2 years later, he ran again, and he was elected and served in the House of Representatives. When he was about 33 years old, he decided to get married. Do you know what the lady's name that he married? Yes? Mary Todd, you're correct. And they had 4 children. Abraham Lincoln practiced law in the state of Illinois all during the 1850s, and he actually came to Danville. When he was about 51 years old, he decided to run for the presidency, and he was actually elected to be our 16th president of the United States. I often wonder if when he is sitting in Washington, D.C., if he didn't turn to his wife and say, "Mary, I long to be back in Springfield. Bring me my top hat and my cane. I long for the old routine."
Sitting by the fireside, remembering in the glow the songs, the dances, the old routine. Oh, how I love them low. The photographs and memories, no matter how I cry. The longing deep within my heart brings tears to these old eyes, you know. I give the world to start all over, back in the old routine, to live my life in fields of clover, back in the old routine. Give me my old top hat and a double truck, and down the avenue we'll go. Folks passing by us will stop and eye us. Soon there'll be more to call and encore. We'll walk in a wonderful glow. Oh, gee, the joy to be there again, back in the old routine. You're up, you're down, you're in there again, back in the old routine. You can give me the jazz, the ransom, a jazz, and we'll tread on heaven's sea. Way back in the old routine, just one more time, once again, back in the
In 1830, the first American-built train was operated by South Carolina Coach and Railroad Company, and rail service began to spread.
The westward expansion had already begun, but on January 24, 1848, something happened in California that would bring people in by the droves. Gold was discovered. James Wilson Marshall accidentally discovered it while excavating for a sawmill, and the gold fever would spread faster than the common cold and would last for more than a decade.
But unrest was brewing, and the country was becoming divided. The agricultural South and the manufacturing North had very little in common. Abraham Lincoln wanted to abolish slavery, and so did the North. But some people, especially the South, wanted to keep their slaves and preserve their style of living.
Our country was headed for one of its saddest times in history, the Civil War. Friends and families were torn apart over this issue of slavery. There were more lives lost in this battle than in any other, and it left our country broken and bleeding. It is a time we could never forget.
Would you like to stand up and stretch? Say, I've got an idea. While you're standing up, why don't you come on up and sing for us? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you to welcome the students of John Greer Elementary School of Houston, Illinois, and their director, Judy Voorhees. Okay, are you ready to go on with our story? All settled in? November the 20th of 1877, Thomas Edison made history by shouting, "Mary had a little lamp," into a recording machine, and then he played it back. Look what we've done with those machines since then.
In 1878, the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote was first introduced, but it failed.
And then in 1879, once again it was introduced, but it failed again.
Well, I'll tell you, in 1880, it was introduced again and failed again, and men were overheard muttering a woman's place is in the home.
And also, I read that they said that a woman's place is in a home where she can be seen and not heard. It's a good thing I didn't live back then.
Yeah, we do. Or a woman, well, you know what, running the country. All they're good for is having babies and cooking and cleaning.
And they even accused them of not being able to vote because they couldn't read. I can't imagine that.
I can't imagine a man saying that either. Well, I can imagine a man saying that. In 1885, the first gasoline-powered engine was built by a man, Carl Benz. Carl Benz. His company was later called Mercedes-Benz, and we think that was for his wife.
In 1886, the United States was given the Statue of Liberty as a gesture of friendship, and it was originally called Liberty Enlightening the World. Then, in 1986, and then in 1987, in 88, and then in 1989, the amendment was again tried to pass it.
For 1 century.
But anyway, it didn't pass.
Well, yeah.
And in 1900, the first Model T was invented. It was invented by Henry Ford. Hey, Sandy, come here. How old do you think Dad is? I bet he's old enough. I bet he knew him. I bet he knew Henry Ford. I bet he did. Hey, Dad.
Debbie, you have cut your youthful-looking father to the quick. How could you say such a thing?
Oh, I bet you knew Henry Ford. I bet you and Mom knew Henry Ford. Hey, Mom, did Dad take you for a ride in his rumble seat?
You know your dad and I are not old enough to have known Henry Ford or to have ridden in his Model T. Get back up there and behave yourself. However, their Model T and other experimental cars opened up a whole new means of transportation. This was known as the horseless carriage. And the 19th Amendment was defeated for the 22nd time.
Yes, it failed again. Men just love their cars, and they just love those cute little rumble seats in the back, but they just hated the idea of women getting the right to vote. But women decided that if they ever did get the right to vote, that there would be some changes made. In accordance, we'll explain.
I'm gonna change my way of living. Gonna get instead of giving. Goodbye, farewell, so long. There'll be a change in the weather, a change in the sea. And from now on there'll be a change in me. My walk will be different, my talk and my name. Nothing is gonna be the same. I'm gonna change my way of living. That ain't enough. I'll even change the way I cut my stuff. 'Cause nobody wants you when you're old and gray.
Oh, really?
There'll be some changes made today. There'll be some changes made. There'll be a change in the fashion, a change in the shoes. And from now on we'll even get tattoos. Our hair will be shorter, our skirts will be tight. We'll catch our morning with the right to fly. We're gonna change our way of loving. That ain't enough. We'll even change, we'll change the way we start our stuff. Oh, nobody wants you, baby, when you're old and gray. There'll be some changes made today. There'll be some changes.
But the Wright brothers didn't. They were working on a new mode of transportation. Do you know what that was? What? An airplane, that's right. The Wright brothers flew, they built it, and flew their own plane in 1903, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And they flew it twice in one day, but Wilbur threw it the farthest, which was 852 feet.
1904.
Fail.
1905.
Fail.
1906.
Fail.
1907.
Fail.
You know, my grandma told me one time after the vote had failed that Grandpa had said to her very sympathetically, Elsie, that was her name, Elsie, my dear, if it's that important for you women to have the vote, by golly, we men ought to let you have it. We just wouldn't have to count it.
1908.
Failed again.
1909.
Failed again.
1910.
Failed again.
1911.
Failed again.
1912.
Failed again.
1913.
Failed again.
1914.
Failed again.
By this time, the 19th Amendment had been introduced 35 times, and trouble was brewing. Now, it wasn't trouble just because of the amendment. There was trouble in the world. There was a conflict between so many countries that it would be called a world war, and it would last for 4 long years. The year was 1918. The war was finally over, and America breathed a sigh of relief, believing there would never be another war.
In 1919, the 19th Amendment giving women the right to vote was introduced for the 40th time. And it passed!
The 1920s brought the stock market crash. A feared Chicago gangster called Al Capone. The dress of the day was the chemise. And the ladies, the most popular dance of the day was the Charleston.
But down in New Orleans, Louis Armstrong was playing a brand new kind of jazz called Dixieland. It had everybody's toes a tapping. In the 1930s, George Ferris invented the Ferris wheel. And music, or a poem written by Francis Scott Key, was set to music, and it became our national anthem. And in the southern part of the Great Plains, the wind erosion was so bad that many people had to migrate further west. Their misery was depicted in a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel by John Steinbeck called The Grapes of Wrath. In the 1940s, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, and the United States went to war for a second time, fighting both Japan and Germany. Ernest Hemingway wrote, "For Whom the Bell Tolls," and the big band era just swept the country. People listened to music by Glenn Miller and Tommy Dorsey, and they danced to String of Pearls, In the Mood, and Tuxedo Junction as sung by Sing Fine. that brought together women of all ages who enjoyed singing and performing. This organization was called the Sweet Adelines. And this next song is the Sweet Adelines motto, harmonize the world.
Sing a song to your neighbor. He'll start humming along. Sing a song to a stranger. Soon you'll join in the song. Music spreads harmony throughout the land. Joyful notes in accord. Sing out and bring out your voice loud and long. Harmonize the world with a song. Harmonize.
The 1950s were the happy days. Kids watched TV, if they had a TV, and they saw Howdy Doody and Buffalo Bob and Clarabelle the Clown, you know, and they just loved that kind of stuff. Teenagers put their hair in bouncy ponytails and wore poodle skirts down to their ankles with their saddle shoes. The boys turned up their collars because they were cool. And they danced to the latest music craze, rock and roll. Bill Haley and the Comets had us rocking around the clock. And Elvis wiggled on the Ed Sullivan Show. Cross Generation is going to sing a song that we heard way back then, Shaboom Shaboom.
If you look in your program under our quartet, we're called Cross Generation, and this is a mother and 3 daughters. Well, one daughter's missing. She had an emergency. She's in the hospital. But we do have another sister. We don't like to let her out very often, but she has decided to sing with us, but she doesn't usually rehearse with us. We have to. She doesn't usually rehearse with us, so you have to take that in mind. Gwendolyn, come on.
Up in paradise up above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love, like to be a dream, sweetheart. Hello, hello again, shaboom, and hope we'll meet again. Oh, like to be a dream. If only all my precious plans would come true, darling. If you would let me spend my whole life loving you, like to be a dream, sweetheart. Dream, sweetheart. Yeah. Something is on my mind. If you do what I want you to, baby, you will be so fine. Oh, I'd like to be a dream. If I could take you up in paradise above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love, I'd like to be a dream, sweetheart. A dream, sweetheart. Boom, shaboom, ah, yeah, la, 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 shaboom, shaboom, ah, yeah, la, 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 shaboom, shaboom, ah, yeah, la, 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 shaboom, 2, 3, 4, 1, yeah, la, 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 every time I look at you, something is on my mind. If you do what I want you to, could take you up in paradise above. If you would tell me I'm the only one that you love, life could be a dream, sweet heart. Ya-la-la-la-la-la-la, shaboo, shaboo, my ya-la-la-la-la-la-la, shaboo, shaboo, my ya-la-la-la-la-la-la, a dream, sweetheart.
As you can see, as we got to the 1960s, that was definitely a time of turbulence. I'll tell you why. Students were rioting on college campuses against the Vietnam War as Dr. Martin Luther King spoke against segregation. John F. Kennedy was elected president and was assassinated, as was Dr. King. But Americans made it to the moon. Astronaut Neil Armstrong radioed this message to the world as he took his first step. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
70s and 80s, technology advanced, and scientists discovered that ozone was disappearing from the Earth's atmosphere. And with the introduction of the VCR, video cassette recording, you didn't have to go to the movie theater anymore to see your favorite show. You could bring it home and watch it on your very own TV. Now, in the 90s came the internet, and the words, "you've got mail," took on a whole new meaning. And two Major League Baseball players, Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, rekindled the love of baseball in a home run slugfest that everybody was watching. And did you know this year, our very own Darren Fletcher, catcher for the Toronto Blue Jays, native of Newtown, Illinois, and my nephew, had a career high 80 RBIs and 18 home runs. Now, seriously now, kids, the 90s are bringing something more important than baseball to your generation, and that's an accelerated effort for world peace. Countries are coming together for the first time to talk about their differences, and we can do that too. You know, world peace can begin right here with me and you.
Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, brothers all
we chose the title of our show, A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Third Millennium?
I think probably the reason we called it that is because the word funny is such an interesting and such a versatile word. I mean, when you're reading the comics in the newspaper, it's called the funny paper. And we have a reference to the funny farm and counterfeit money.
Oh, stop. Sorry I asked.
Well, there are lots of funny things, though. Oh, my, that's funny. By the time you're here awfully early, you're not really due for 2 more months. And quite honestly, you look kind of funny. Do you feel okay?
What do you say? I've been feeling kind of funny lately.
Oh, my.
I think I got a virus.
A virus?
Yep. I think it's the Y2K bug.
That's a funny name for a virus. Is Baby New Year here yet?
I think he is. This is what Baby New Year early for a middle school math teacher, he's a very good Baby New Year.
Your explanation of the title is still pretty funny if you ask me.
But Kathy, I didn't ask you. You asked me.
Okay.
I'm going to ask both of you to go back to your places so we can finish our story. You know, there's a gift that we've all received through, well, you know, do you like gifts? So do I. But this is a gift that none of us had anything to do with. It's a gift that was given to us by our parents, our grandparents, and even our great-grandparents, and all those who fought for our country and their battles. It's the gift of freedom, a freedom like no other country has. Unfortunately, we take this freedom for granted too often. But what we need to remember is one thing. The United States of America is the greatest country in the world to live in.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, and that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. I had a dream deeply rooted in the American dream, a dream that this country would rise up to the opportunity to live out the true meaning of its creed. And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet
Well, Rita, it's only 62 days to the millennium, and we have a lot of people to thank this afternoon.
We certainly do. As all of you, I'm sure, realize, this show would not be what it is
without a lot of people, both on stage and backstage. So why don't we start there, Patsy?
All right. We'd like to say thank you to Fred Pancoast, Shelby Jennings, and Kevin Villaball, who have been working very hard behind stage. You haven't seen them.
We'd like to thank June Cunningham and Joanne Johnson, our two stagehands who brought things out to us during the show.
And our two gentlemen on the spotlight, Hank Walsh and Frank Van Dyne.
Our two videographers, thank you, Howard Beckley and Tom Box.
And our property construction people, Phil Carter and his wife Carol.
Our riser crew, Daniel Schwartz and Phil Carter, thanks.
And our housewife extraordinaire, Virginia Walsh.
We'd also like to thank the young people who did Paul Revere, Ashley Hahn, Jessica Whittington, Kathleen Ashbrook, Amanda Beckley, and Lauren Beckley.
And we'd also like to issue a special thanks to Jeannie Ward of DACC for all her cooperation in helping us do this.
An extra special thanks to Father Time, Jim Kraft, and his buddy, our New Year's baby, Adrian Marufo.
And now our special performers in the order of their appearance.
First, Ileana Sound.
Vanderpoorten Harmony.
Our soloist, Amber Zimmerman.
Ready, next.
In accordance.
Symphonic.
Cross Generation Plus One.
And we'd also like to thank our assistant directors who are a big help to this chorus. First of all, Peggy Marufo, who didn't direct this afternoon. However, Peggy's the gal that's responsible for our vocal and physical warm-up and keeps us on our toes. And Donna Limp, who directed Mighty Mississippi.
We also want to thank our one valuable source of inspiration for all of us. He's our ever encouraging, ever patient, ever supporting us, and that's our director, lovable Glenn Trimble.
And also this afternoon, we'd like to thank all the students from John Greer Elementary School and their director, Judy Morrison.
Thank you all for being such a tremendous audience. We'll see you in the next millennium. And please join us for a final God Bless America.
God bless America, land that I love. Every tiger and tiger, through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairie, to the ocean, wide and far. God bless America.
Close the curtain.
I think the curtain's not going to close, so thank you.